Hello friends, it's Mallory with Made by Manny and Mal. I'm here with a tutorial on how to layer large vinyl decals. I posted a quick version of this on TikTok and it went crazy. And a lot of people asked me to post a longer version on YouTube going a little bit more into detail on each step and how to exactly do it. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Stay tuned. So to start, you're going to need 2 pieces of parchment paper. You'll want one that is smaller and one that's bigger. The one that's bigger is just going to cover your table, and then the smaller one is what we're going to use with the decals. You'll need a piece of transfer tape that's bigger than your decal. You want a little bit of the stickiness to hang over the edge. So I have this sunflower decal that has 4 layers. So it has a black layer, a blue layer with the stars, and then a red and white layer. And I'm going to layer from the top down. So I'm gonna start with my big piece of parchment paper. I'm gonna take my black layer, which is the top, and I'm gonna take the transfer tape and apply it just like I would to a normal decal. There's nothing special here. Just make sure that you apply it to the center and that you have a little bit of room on the edges. I'm going to peel the backing off and throw that backing away. I did keep the backing for the transfer tape because that's what I'm going to use to put on the back of the decal once it's all set up. So I'm going to take the blue layer, which is next. It's the center of the flower. So I'm going to take that middle layer and I'm going to put the smaller piece of parchment paper over the top of the blue. I'm going to leave a little bit of the backing from the blue piece hanging out from behind or under the parchment paper, because I'm going to use that to help me stick the top to that next layer. And I'm going to use the 3 little points on there to match up with the points in the middle of the flower to help me line it up. So the goal of the parchment paper in between is to allow you to move your decal around and get it in the right place so that it doesn't stick down permanently and then you can't move it and reposition it if you didn't line it up correctly. The decal will stick to the parchment paper a little bit so you can move it around, but it will peel right back off, unlike it would if you were to stick it to another piece of vinyl. So the reason that we leave that little tail of backing from the layer that we're sticking the flower to is to allow us to stick that down and keep everything in place while we pull the parchment paper out. So I'm gonna line this decal up and I can move it around. As you can see, I didn't line it up perfectly the first time, so I'm gonna kind of move it. And then I'm gonna make sure that that flower part is stuck to the piece of backing that is sticking out. And then I'm just gonna kind of loosen that parchment paper and pull it out. And you can see it's lined up perfectly. So I'm just gonna repeat that exact same process with the next 2 layers. Now with the red and the white layer, it doesn't really matter on this specific flower what layer you do first. They're designed for you to interchange them, so it doesn't really matter if you go white layer next or the red layer next. I'm gonna do the red layer as the next layer. When I drew this flower, I left a special little petal looking a little bit different from the others because I knew when I was gonna layer it that all the petals were gonna look the same and it was gonna be really hard to find out what went with what. So I drew this little petal that looks kind of like a banana, and it's really easy for me to pinpoint, and that's what I use to make sure that my decal is lined up in the right order so that if that banana's on the top, then my other layer's on the top too. That parchment paper is really easy to get unstuck from the transfer tape, so you just kind of wiggle it a little bit and it'll slide right out. So we're going to do the last layer, which is the white, and I'm just going to do the exact same thing that I did before. There's the banana. You'll never unsee the banana once you find it. So when I'm weeding and cutting these flowers out, I kind of think about how much room I need around the flower. A lot of the times people like to cut really, really close to the decal so they can save as much vinyl as possible, which is great. But for this instance, we want to leave a little bit of extra backing hanging out from the flower so we have something to stick that side to. So when you're cutting your decals, just think about maybe leaving a little bit of extra room when you weed and you cut your decals down, just so you have something to stick to if you're going to be layering like this. So I'm going to bring you guys in a little bit closer. I'm going to show you how I do it just a few more times. I'm going to speed it up, but just so you can kind of watch it and see with different size decals the way I do it. I know it's kind of confusing the first time you watch it, so I'll just show you a couple more times, and hopefully this will help. So I'm just going to take that backing from the transfer tape that I put aside and put it on the back of the whole decal. I just like the way it looks. I know it's the right size and it wasn't cut irregularly, and I know that it'll cover the whole sticker and just fit perfectly with the transfer tape that I cut. So I like to save it. You can use whatever backing you want, or if you're just layering this to put on something else, you don't even need to worry about backing.